So for my upcycle project, I made a zoetrope. So a zoetrope is just basically an optical illusion device that, so a zoetrope is basically an optical illusion device, and the way that it does this illusion is by showing us a series of images at a high frame rate. And that high frame rate just means our brains can't distinguish those pictures, so we just see it as fluid motion. So the reason I chose a zoetrope was because I wanted a project that has something to do with engineering, but at the same time I wanted to talk about the aesthetic of the beauty and our limitations as humans. So we can only distinguish about 10 to 12 frames per second. After that, it's just fluid motion. A good example is this horse. It's about 12 frames per second. It looks fluid, but if you look at the tail, there's kind of a bit of a flicker to it. Okay, so the items I used for the zoetrope were a popcorn mix, the black paper, double-sided tape, straw, bamboo skewer, glue, and yeah, that was all of the stuff. And the building process of this thing was basically arts and crafts, so I'm not going to bore you guys with the process. But one cool thing I did during this process was I realized that I needed to find the center of the lid, and I wanted to find the center of the lid in an accurate way. So I thought of using a ruler in the beginning, but the ruler just wouldn't work anyway. So what I did was I just estimated where I thought the center was, and I used something called Thales theorem. I'm not going to bore you with the math. It's basically just if you do two perpendicular lines at the edge of a circle, the hypotenuse that you draw has to pass through the center of the circle because it creates something called diametrically opposed points. So if I just do two of them, the hypotenuse is where they meet. That's the exact center of the circle, or the lid. And the hard part of the project. So I wanted my zoetrope to spin. As you guys can see here, I wanted it to spin like this. I didn't want you guys to spin it with your fingers. So the first thing I thought of doing was, I thought of using a bearing at the beginning. But two problems with that. Problem number one, I couldn't figure out how to fit a bearing to a thin aluminum sheet, number one. Number two, I couldn't find a bearing that could fit a bamboo skewer. So just looking through videos on YouTube, I found this video of two Indian guys making a zoetrope. And the way they made it spin was they just used a straw on the bamboo skewer and it just spinned. So yeah, cheap to come by and avoided the issue of press fitting the bearing into the aluminum sheet. And this is the final product. Yeah. Well, you guys can pass it around.
Is it spinning through your hand right there?
Yeah, so basically just hold the straw and just do this. It'll just spin. Looking through the slits, you should be able to see the images move slowly. But yeah, that's all.
Great.